Now we come to the actual content of the business plan. That is the cover page and the table of contents. What does this mean? It means essentially that we're ready to go. When composing a business plan, the first things to consider are the cover page and the table of contents. I've supplied a file containing examples of both of these documents so that you have suitable template for easy reference in the future and can familiarise yourselves with the format. As you might expect, your cover page requires you to state the purpose of the business plan. Does it concern a startup? Is it a general plan? Is it investment related? Think about what you want to achieve and then write down the purpose of your business plan. Then write the name of the business, if one is already decided on. If your business plan concerns a startup, it's very possible that you won't have a name yet. Of course, you won't only write the name of the business, but also the name of the founder, the owner, or the individuals bearing responsibility for its success. Then write the address, and lastly, the contact details. This is all the information required to complete the cover page. More detailed information is not necessary at this point. The above details are sufficient to give a comprehensive overview. Next comes the brief. The table of contents will be created on the basis of what is written here. The brief comes next, so that when somebody opens up your business plan, they will read it before anything else and will be afforded a general overview of what the plan is about. This is very important. Imagine I have a business plan and the first thing with which I'm presented is information about the nature of the business, its prospects, its strategies, etc. After all of this, I read the brief and I see a capital demand of 100 million euros. If I had known about those 100 million euros from the beginning, I would have considered it slightly differently. I would have approached the material differently than if the capital demand was 100,000 euros. If I include this data in the brief, then I'm on the right lines. But, and pay close attention to this part, you should write the brief only after finishing everything else. It's of utmost importance that you have everything else in place first. The reason for this is that if you try to write the brief right at the beginning, you will frequently be lacking in knowledge as to what it should say. Much of your plan will become clear only during the process of writing it. And because of this, it's extremely important to save the writing of the brief until the end. Even if, as I mentioned, you're intending for it to feature at the beginning. This is extremely important. So, to move on, how many pages should the brief consist of? Here you should be sparing. A good brief will last 1 to 2 sides, not more. It should simply be a short summing up of the subject matter of the plan. Very concise, 1 to 2 sides. This allows it to fulfill its purpose effectively. As an initial step within the brief, you need to identify a business idea. Naturally, the business idea is of utmost importance. What are you actually going to do? When you attend a seminar, there's always a round of introductions. In small seminars, this means that each participant introduces themselves and explains briefly and concisely what they do. In larger seminars, where there are more participants, the topic on everyone's lips during break times is always, what do you do? And how about you? And you? If you've attended such a seminar yourself, you'll know that this is exactly what happens. At this point, you should ask yourself 2 questions about your own business idea. 10 seconds into your description, are your conversational partners still listening? Or are they just nodding, yes, yes, great, very interesting? This is the first thing. The second thing you must ask yourself, can the people to whom you describe your idea still recall it after 10 minutes? I've listened to a lot of people describing what they do, And quite honestly, within 2 minutes of the conversation ending, I'm not able to remember what the majority of them said. Many of the people you meet will have been trained in elevator pitches. The majority of you will already be familiar with the purpose of such training and with what this kind of pitch sounds like. The aim is to present your business in a concise, punchy way, prompting your listener to respond, very interesting, how does that work? Is this something you recognize? This is of fundamental importance. The ability to convey your idea in such a way that your listener responds with an expression of interest. Imagine somebody tells you, I'm setting up a fish and chip shop. Doesn't come across very effectively. The same when someone tells you, I'm writing an ebook and marketing it online. If I tell somebody I train 2,000 people a day without even lifting a finger, that sounds interesting. That was my business idea, to train people entirely via the video training sessions that I make available online. That's what I do. Let's go on. The entire brief should be clearly expressed and easily comprehensible, just like the sections we've already discussed. After the business idea comes the planning of sales and profit, and finally, how and why you will achieve success. Simply specify briefly and concisely the characteristics of the business. Use the brief to give an overview and to explain what kind of business it will be. Briefly outline the factors that you believe will lead to its success and why it will be successful. And note, this is all you should address at this point. Risks will come later. There will be an additional part in your business plan that discusses risks and weaknesses, but it will feature later. Here, you should focus on bringing out the positives, explaining why the whole thing will be a success.